This wasn't just a television show. Knight Rider was a cultural explosion. Premiering in 1982, it blended futuristic technology with the swagger of David Hasselhoff and a talking car that became a worldwide icon. But behind the shiny black hood of KITT lurked stories that shocked cast members, tested NBC executives, and rewrote what audiences thought television could do. What secrets were tucked beneath the turbo boost and flashing red scanner? Today, we're revealing 25 hidden truths about Knight Rider that fans never knew. Some strange, some dangerous, and some almost unbelievable. Buckle up, the ride is just beginning. The car was almost not a Trans Am. This wasn't just a Pontiac, it was nearly something else entirely. When Glenn A. Larson pitched Knight Rider, NBC loved the idea of a crime fighter with a futuristic car, but no one had settled on which car. Larson originally envisioned KITT as a sleek Datsun 280ZX or even a modified Ford Mustang. Pontiac, however, was desperate to boost sales of their struggling Trans Am line. They struck a deal, offering the production multiple cars and engineering support. The iconic Firebird silhouette, with its aggressive nose and pop-up headlights, became KITT's unmistakable look. Ironically, Pontiac never predicted how much the show would skyrocket their sales. By 1983, dealerships reported customers walking in and asking simply, "Do you have the Knight Rider car?" That partnership turned a fading car into a legend. The voice of KITT was cast in secret. This wasn't just any actor, it was Mr. Feeney. Producers wanted KITT to sound sophisticated, witty, and endlessly patient with Hasselhoff's Michael Knight. They secretly approached William Daniels, a respected stage actor. Daniels didn't want to be credited. He feared it would typecast him or damage his serious career. So for the show's first seasons, KITT's voice actor went unlisted. The irony? Daniels' calm, slightly snarky delivery became one of the most recognizable elements of the series. Years later, younger fans would know him as the beloved teacher, Mr. Feeney, from Boy Meets World. But in 1982, his secret recording sessions in a tiny booth made KITT sound like a star without ever showing his face. Hasselhoff and KITT shared a strange rivalry. This wasn't just actor and car. It was a battle for screen time. David Hasselhoff later admitted he felt overshadowed by the talking Trans Am. While he was the human lead, fan mail poured in asking about KITT. Children idolized the car, not the man behind the wheel. Hasselhoff often joked that he was second billing to a hunk of metal. Yet that odd rivalry fueled his performance, making Michael Knight more animated, charming, and dramatic. He played bigger because KITT stole attention in every scene. In hindsight, that chemistry, half competition, half partnership, gave the show its magic. Audiences weren't just watching a man, they were watching a man and his car argue, bond, and save the day. The stunts were dangerously real. This wasn't CGI, it was steel, fire, and risk. Every turbo boost, crash, and spin was filmed with real cars. Stunt coordinator Jack Gill modified multiple Trans Ams, some for jumps, some for crashes, and some for close-ups. The crew famously used ramps and hidden cables to launch KITT into the air, often destroying cars in the process. Pontiac supplied dozens of vehicles, knowing most wouldn't survive. At one point, production nearly ran out of cars entirely, forcing mechanics to weld broken frames back together overnight. The danger was real. Stunt drivers suffered injuries, and the cars often smashed far harder than planned. But those practical effects made the show's action unforgettable. KITT's red scanner came from Battlestar Galactica. This wasn't just a light. It was recycled science fiction. The iconic sweeping red scanner on KITT's nose wasn't designed for Knight Rider at all. Glenn A. Larson, who also created Battlestar Galactica, reused the Cylon Eye effect for his new show. The glowing bar, moving back and forth, symbolized KITT's artificial intelligence. It gave the car life without words, suggesting thought and awareness even in silence. Fans instantly recognized it, and it became so iconic that decades later, car customizers still install similar scanners on Trans Ams. That single light bar turned a piece of fiberglass into a living character and a visual signature known worldwide. NBC nearly canceled the show after one episode. This wasn't a guaranteed hit. It was a gamble that almost collapsed. When Knight Rider premiered in 1982, NBC executives weren't sure what they had on their hands. The concept of a man and his talking car sounded, to many critics, like campy nonsense. Early reviews were brutal. One trade magazine dismissed it as a live-action cartoon that won't last past Christmas. Behind the scenes, NBC executives debated pulling the plug after the pilot aired. But then something unexpected happened. Audiences loved it. Ratings skyrocketed, with young viewers especially glued to the screen. Merchandising potential became obvious. NBC realized they weren't just airing another action drama. They had lightning in a bottle. The show survived its rocky start and quickly cemented itself as one of the decade's defining television icons. KITT had multiple stunt doubles. This wasn't just one car. It was a fleet of imposters. While fans saw a single, sleek black Trans Am, the production actually managed an entire fleet of KITTs, each built for specific purposes. One car had reinforced suspension for jumps, another was hollowed out for camera rigs, a third was designed for dramatic crashes. To the untrained eye, they all looked identical, but stunt crews swapped them constantly depending on the scene. Pontiac's supply line was so stretched that some cars were little more than fiberglass shells painted black, meant to be destroyed in fiery explosions. The magic of editing stitched it all together, creating the illusion that Michael Knight and his indestructible companion survived every impossible stunt. Hasselhoff often performed his own driving. This wasn't just Hollywood stunt work, it was Hasselhoff behind the wheel. While professional stunt drivers handled the riskiest moves, David Hasselhoff insisted on doing many of his own driving scenes. He trained with the stunt team, learning high-speed maneuvers, sharp turns, and even the beginnings of controlled slides. Hasselhoff wanted to look natural inside KITT, ensuring viewers believed Michael Knight was truly the one in control. In interviews, he admitted that producers frequently had to hold him back, worried the star might injure himself. Though not every attempt made it to air, Hasselhoff's enthusiasm gave the show authenticity. Fans weren't just watching an actor in a car, they were watching an actor who looked like he belonged behind the wheel of the coolest ride on television. The interior dashboard was science fiction on a budget. This wasn't futuristic technology, it was plywood and blinking lights. KITT's interior dazzled audiences with glowing panels, voice analyzers, and dozens of mysterious buttons, but in reality, it was a handcrafted illusion. Production designers used plywood frames, plastic sheets, and repurposed electronics to create the dashboard. Many of the lights didn't connect to anything at all. They were controlled by off-screen technicians flicking switches during filming. Close-ups relied on clever camera angles to hide imperfections. Still, the result was jaw-dropping for early 80 seconds television. Kids dreamed of riding inside that cockpit, while adults marveled at what felt like a glimpse of the future. The illusion worked so well that even Pontiac executives admitted they were shocked at how real it looked on screen. The show had a secret military influence. This wasn't pure imagination, it was rooted in real defense projects. The idea of a super-intelligent car didn't come out of thin air. Glenn A. Larson drew inspiration from emerging military technologies of the late 70s and early 80s, projects involving artificial intelligence, experimental vehicles, and smart weaponry. The Department of Defense had been funding autonomous navigation experiments, and rumors of driverless jeeps circulated in military journals. Larson took those futuristic whispers and spun them into entertainment. KITT wasn't just fantasy. It was a dramatized version of concepts already in development. In a way, Knight Rider predicted the rise of AI-driven cars decades before Tesla or Google entered the scene. What seemed like science fiction in 1982 looks eerily like prophecy today. KITT's Turbo Boost was filmed with old-school tricks. This wasn't futuristic propulsion. It was Hollywood, sleight of hand. When KITT hit the turbo boost button and soared over obstacles, it looked like high-tech magic. In truth, the effect came from hidden ramps, high-speed film, and clever editing. The car would be launched off a ramp at dangerous speeds, filmed from low angles to exaggerate the height, then spliced together with reaction shots of Hasselhoff pressing buttons. In some cases, miniatures were used to fill gaps. Though most jumps were real, fans never questioned it. Turbo boost became one of the show's signature moves, and the stunt team's ingenuity ensured those leaps looked just futuristic enough to make kids believe KITT really could defy gravity. The show sparked a real car culture craze. This wasn't just a television series, it was a lifestyle movement. By 1983, car clubs were forming around the world dedicated to building replicas of KITT. Some fans gutted old Trans Ams to recreate the dashboard, while others painted their cars black and added makeshift red scanners. Pontiac dealerships even reported that Knight Rider had directly influenced buyers to choose Trans Ams over competing muscle cars. The show blurred the line between fantasy and reality. People wanted to own a piece of the legend. To this day, Knight Rider replica builders still exist, keeping the car culture alive through fan conventions and YouTube showcases. The show didn't just entertain, it transformed the way people thought about cars. Hasselhoff nearly lost the role before filming began. This wasn't a guaranteed casting. It was almost someone else entirely. NBC executives initially weren't sold on David Hasselhoff. At the time, he was a soap opera star from The Young and the Restless, not a proven action lead. Producers auditioned several actors, including names who later went on to other television fame. Hasselhoff won the role largely because of his charisma. He could balance the seriousness of action scenes with light-hearted banter alongside KITT. Yet, in the weeks before filming, rumors swirled that the network considered replacing him with a more rugged, established name. Only when Larson fought to keep him did Hasselhoff's place become secure. The gamble paid off. Hasselhoff and KITT became one of TV's most unforgettable duos. If you're hooked on these secrets, go ahead and like and subscribe, because we're only halfway through, and the wildest ones are still coming. The show faced battles with car thieves. This wasn't just television fame. It was real-world trouble. As Knight Rider grew popular, something unexpected started happening. Trans Am thefts spiked. Fans wanted KITT so badly that criminals began targeting Pontiac dealerships. Some thieves even tried to replicate KITT's modifications after stealing the cars, painting them black, and installing fake scanners. The show's production crew had to take extreme precautions, keeping filming cars locked away under heavy security. Pontiac executives worried the association might backfire, but instead, sales skyrocketed. Ironically, the crime wave only fueled the car's legend. People believed KITT wasn't just a television character, it was a car worth chasing in real life. William Daniels and Hasselhoff never worked together in person. This wasn't a buddy duo on set, it was editing magic. Although Michael Knight and KITT seemed inseparable, David Hasselhoff and William Daniels, KITT's voice, never acted together. Daniels recorded all his lines separately in a studio, often days or weeks after filming. On set, Hasselhoff acted against silence or cue lines read by an assistant. The banter fans loved was carefully stitched together in post-production. Hasselhoff later admitted he felt odd, talking to nothing, but he trusted Daniels' voice would bring it alive. When the two finally met in person after the show's success, Hasselhoff joked that he felt like he was finally meeting his real co-star. The network forced strange storylines. This wasn't always Larson's vision, it was network interference. While Glenn A. Larson wanted a sleek, action-packed drama, NBC executives occasionally forced bizarre plots onto the writers. They demanded family-friendly episodes, strange villains, or oddball lesson episodes to broaden appeal. This led to infamous storylines where Michael and KITT battled carnival operators, wrestlers, and even a giant robotic monster. Fans loved the silliness, but the writers often groaned behind the scenes. They knew the show worked best when it leaned into tech, stunts, and espionage. Yet, Those offbeat episodes gave the show a quirky charm that cemented it in pop culture history. KITT had an evil twin built for drama. This wasn't just one car. It was a showdown with its dark reflection. To spice up the drama, writers introduced KARR, Night Automated Roving Robot. Unlike KITT, KARR lacked a moral compass, programmed only for self-preservation. When it appeared in Season 1, audiences were stunned by the concept of two nearly identical supercars battling each other. KARR's glowing amber, scanner, and menacing voice made it instantly memorable. The episodes featuring KARR remain fan favorites, showing how much audiences loved seeing KITT pushed to the limit. What started as a cost-saving idea, reusing the same Trans Am, turned into one of the most thrilling rivalries in 80 seconds. Television, Pontiac, didn't want Hasselhoff behind the wheel. This wasn't just about safety, it was about liability. Pontiac executives worried about their cars being wrecked during filming, so they strongly discouraged Hasselhoff from performing too much driving. They even tried to limit how much he could be seen gripping the wheel at high speeds. Hasselhoff, however, pushed back. He wanted authenticity, and often practiced with the stunt team. Pontiac eventually relented, but kept insurance representatives hovering over the set. Every time Hasselhoff performed a driving sequence, the tension wasn't just on screen, it was felt by the nervous executives watching from the sidelines. The show's budget was constantly on the edge. This wasn't a lavish production, it was a shoestring miracle. Despite flashy stunts and futuristic tech, Knight Rider operated on a surprisingly modest budget for a primetime hit. Cars were reused and rebuilt, props were recycled, and scripts often leaned on car tricks to save money on explosions. Glenn A. Larson was a master of stretching dollars, having done the same with Battlestar Galactica. Yet, the limitations forced creativity. Writers leaned into character dynamics and dialogue to balance the action. In the end, the lower budget may have been a blessing. It kept the show scrappy, inventive, and grounded enough to charm audiences worldwide. KITT's self-driving effect was ingenious. This wasn't real AI. It was a stuntman hiding in plain sight. Audiences were blown away watching KITT cruise down highways with no one inside. But the trick was surprisingly low-tech. A stunt driver was hidden inside the driver's seat. Specially modified Trans Ams allowed someone to sit cramped in the front seat shell, steering while keeping their head below the dashboard. Long shots were carefully framed to hide any trace of the driver. The illusion was flawless. Viewers genuinely believed KITT was piloting itself, decades before modern self-driving cars became a reality. The theme song became a global hit. This wasn't just background music. It was an anthem. The pounding electronic theme composed by Stu Phillips was instantly recognizable, with its pulsing rhythm and futuristic synths. But few know just how influential it became. In Europe, the theme was released as a single and climbed radio charts. DJs in clubs even remixed it, blending the track into disco and early electronic dance scenes. The melody was so iconic that years later, rappers and pop artists sampled it, bringing the Knight Rider vibe into hip-hop and techno. Hasselhoff himself often joked that the car wasn't the only star, the music had equal billing. Today, that theme remains one of the most unforgettable television intros of all time, ranking alongside Mission, Impossible, and The Twilight Zone. Hasselhoff's singing career boosted the show overseas. This wasn't just acting, it was cross-promotion. While American audiences saw Hasselhoff as an action hero, European fans embraced his music career. His albums went platinum in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, often topping charts. When Knight Rider episodes aired overseas, Hasselhoff used his rising music fame to draw more attention to the series. Concerts doubled as promotional tours for the show. In Germany, Knight Rider episodes would air before or after his televised performances, cementing him as a cultural sensation. The unusual crossover made Hasselhoff far bigger internationally than in the US, proving that Michael Knight wasn't just saving the day on screen, he was fueling a global phenomenon in real life. The show almost had a spin-off too soon. This wasn't patience. It was network greed. At the height of Knight Rider's popularity, NBC pushed Glenn A. Larson to create spin-offs and sequels before the original series had even settled. Early drafts included ideas for a KITT team, featuring multiple intelligent vehicles, and even a female-led version of Michael Knight. Larson resisted, fearing oversaturation would ruin the original. Ultimately, spin-offs like Team Knight Rider didn't emerge until the 90 seconds. But the pressure during the 80 seconds showed just how desperate NBC was to milk the franchise. Imagine if those spin-offs had aired too soon. The original show might not have become the cult classic it is today. The show inspired real technology. This wasn't just fiction. It was a spark for innovators. Engineers have often admitted that Knight Rider influenced their careers. The concept of a smart car that could drive itself, talk to its owner, and assist in emergencies wasn't as far-fetched as it seemed. In fact, some early voice command experiments in cars during the late 80 seconds directly cited Knight Rider as inspiration. Decades later, when self-driving cars entered serious development, many journalists noted the uncanny similarity to KITT. Even Elon Musk has nodded to the show, joking about Tesla's Knight Rider moment. What once seemed like television fantasy is now part of our everyday tech conversation. The legacy refuses to die. This wasn't just a show. It was a launchpad for endless revivals. From television movies in the 90 seconds to reboots in the 2000 seconds and countless fan projects, Knight Rider has never truly disappeared. Hasselhoff has repeatedly campaigned for a movie reboot, claiming studios underestimate the car's enduring popularity. Merchandising, from toy models to video games, keeps the brand alive. Streaming services introduce the show to new generations, who fell in love with the retro charm. And at fan conventions, replica KITTs still roll in to cheering crowds. The show's DNA is woven into pop culture. 40 years later, the partnership of man and machine still resonates, reminding us that some stories never run out of gas. Knight Rider wasn't just about flashy stunts and a talking car. It was about imagination, innovation, and a bond between man and machine that defined a generation. From secret casting battles to real car culture movements, these 25 hidden truths reveal just how much went on behind the hood. The legacy of KITT and Michael Knight continues to inspire fans, creators, and even engineers today. So what do you think? Was Knight Rider ahead of its time, or simply a perfect product of the 80 seconds? Drop your thoughts below, share with fellow fans, and don't forget to subscribe, because the ride isn't over yet.